I'd like to welcome Enthusiast CEO Eric Bernofsky. Hi, Eric. How are you doing?
Hi, Chris. You hear me okay?
I'm doing well. Look at that haircut. You've got a proper haircut. I've just coming out of the. I was trying to air dry my hair. I went for a run at lunchtime. Mental idea. And now I've got this kind of massive hair. You look like you've. If you is that a home cut or is that like a professional barber?
It's definitely a home cut. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a home cut.
It looks good though. You look very slick.
Yeah, there's a lot you could do. Do it yourself.
Yeah, I need to do a lot. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I could show you how. I could do a sort of a virtual.
Do we just sack off the talk
tutorial
about esports? We'll do a virtual hairdressing, a virtual salon here. But that's cool. So yes, we could chat for ages. We often chat, as you can imagine. Are you ready to launch in?
I am ready, although I can listen to you speak about esports because quite interested to hear your thoughts and perspectives.
I'm a fascinated observer. I actually this is my guilty secret. So I've had a bit more time with my son at home, obviously recently. So I've kind of been I was aware of Fortnite and I played it before, but to be honest, despite being in the industry, it's sometimes hard to find time to play these games. So I'd kind of been aware of Fortnite and dabbled it. But I've started playing Fortnite with my son. So now I think, and it's yeah, I can kind of see. I'm not putting in the hours required to master it, but I can see how compelling this stuff is. I can see that. Give it, if it had the years, I reckon I could be up there and challenge him. But
that sounds like a challenge.
Well, that's it. That's a company challenge. We can do something else, but Fortnite's what I've got at the moment. My boy's 9. I can beat him, so that's good. Anyway, yeah, I think I'll let you kick off. We can ask some questions afterwards. So I'm going to recede from the stage. I'm hearing the background of any problems and let you crack on, Eric.
All right, I'm going to share my screen with a couple of slides here. Just give me a moment. Let's try that one. There we go. Everyone can see that, I hope. So yeah, thanks, Chris. Really appreciate the intro. Kind of stole a little bit of my thunder there on a little bit of who Enthusiast Gaming is, but thanks for that background. I'll get into that in a moment, but I did want to thank you, Chris. I wanted to thank Jez and the whole Pocket Gamer team. I want to thank the attendees and registrants and the sponsors. Obviously the world changed drastically, perhaps forever. A few months back, and as most people who would be listening now know, that Pocket Gamer and Pocket Gamer Connects is an event that really the essence of it is networking and getting together, talking about the industry, connecting with other people on a global stage. And obviously we can't do that right now. We can't do that in person. And the team has transitioned this event into something digital. I really commend the team for being able to do that. And being able to sort of bridge the gap here for us in a digital world until we can again meet in person. So I really commend the team. Thanks everyone for your efforts, and obviously the technology helps, and I hope my technology works, and we'll kick right in. So Enthusiast Gaming, as Chris mentioned, is the parent company of Steel and Pocket Gamer. But who are we? Just a very, very brief background on Enthusiast Gaming. Started as a media company about 5-6 years ago on the publisher side, writing content, news, reviews, articles, blogs, chats. Originally started on the Nintendo scene, and then branched out into other areas. Really what we are now is a collection of gaming communities. We're the world's largest platform of different gaming communities, whether it be platform, whether it be mobile, whether it be console, esports communities as well. And we've built a platform of multiple sites, over 100 sites right now that we operate or partner with. And so that's our media business. But we also have an events business, Pocket Gamer as well, that Chris mentioned, but another event that is more on the B2C side called EGLX, Enthusiast Gaming Live Expo. That's an event that runs in Toronto right now. I should have mentioned at the beginning, I'm in Toronto, one of the countries represented, Canada, on this particular event. So from across the pond, I say hello. And then the third pillar that we have is esports, obviously, which we've come to talk about today. So let's talk a little bit about esports. Our esports org, as Chris said, is Luminosity Gaming. That is correct. Ninja got his start as part of Luminosity Gaming. Ninja, one of the most recognized streamers and gamers in the world today. If you don't know who Ninja is, many of your kids will know who Ninja is for sure. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the industry at large, and we're here to talk about how to navigate through the environment right now as the world is changing. Not only the world at large, but the esports world is changing, and it has been changing quite significantly over the last few years. And that's what I wanted to talk about, and how we feel like we can be leaders in that space, and how we are leaders in that space right now. So let's put a little bit of context into what esports is. So for any beginners or novices that might be tuning in, let's really sort of capture what is esports, and why are we here to talk about it, and why are we so enthusiastic about it. There we go. So, the esports industry is still small relative to the overall gaming industry. The video games industry, by most estimates, put it at about $140 to $150 billion right now in terms of consumer spend and advertising dollars. Esports, much smaller. In 2020, somewhere around $1 billion. Recently, I saw Goldman Sachs had it somewhere closer to 1.6 billion. But the point is it's growing much faster than the overall games industry at large. Goldman Sachs estimates it could double within 2 years. So we're talking about a really vibrant, rapidly growing industry, and that was before the impacts of COVID. So what's been happening over the last few months? So as Chris alluded to, the competition and the audience and the transition from live sports into esports and online competitions has been incredible over the last few months. As we've all been at home, as we've been tuning into online programming a lot more, there's a thirst for competitive gaming, and people are getting their fix in esports. Not only in traditional esports, but some of the when I say traditional esports, just the games that have been online that people have been watching over the last couple of years. But we've seen a transition from some of the major traditional sports, like soccer, like basketball, as an example, where some of those athletes who can't play on the field or on the pitch are playing online, and it's been a phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal experience to watch them and to watch their fans and to see the media get behind it and to see sponsors get behind that transition to online. It's been unbelievable. Viewership is like I said, going through the roof over the last couple of months. But even as the world begins to open up again, we believe, and we're building a business around this, that viewership is going to continue to grow. There's a lot of new product. There's a lot of new technology. There's a lot of new influencers that are coming into the system, into the ecosystem, to be able to support that growth. One of the things that's really supporting the growth is brand partnerships. And we're starting to see over the last couple of months some brands, some real traditional brands that either are seeing the current void in the professional sports arena, or starting to try to diversify some of their audiences. So we've just seen a couple examples, and there's a couple on the screen in the last few months. Nike, a large sponsorship with League of Legends. Louis Vuitton also on the fashion side, League of Legends sponsoring. Adidas shoe sponsorships. We're seeing others such as Pizza Hut, restaurant chain. One of our franchises in the Overwatch League signed a sponsorship deal with Pizza Hut, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And that's going to continue, in our opinion, to be a significant piece of the economic pie when it comes to esports. And as the esports market continues to mature, and the schedules and the players become more well known, I think that piece is going to continue to grow. There's a lot of sponsors that are still sort of poking around, getting more comfortable with it. anyone from the advertising or sponsorship side that might be listening would know that some are more conservative, have been investing in or partnering with traditional sports for many years. They're very comfortable with that, but it's no secret that many of the traditional sports leagues are aging. I once heard a stat a little while back. I forgot who said it, but at least here in North America, there's a baseball fan dies every day and an esports fan is born. I actually think it was 2 esports fans were born every day. So you could just see how that audience is turning over, and brands are really checking out how to be relevant as those audiences turn over. So let me just move to the next one. Again, we're seeing this convergence, as I mentioned, a couple of examples here of seeing some traditional sponsors that have moved into esports. Another example here you'll see on the screen is checking out I was checking out the Q&A. I apologize, but I didn't know if it was for me now or for me later. I'll continue on. We saw a couple of weeks ago an example where an influencer strategy, which I'll move into in a moment, but leading into that, an influencer strategy where there was a concert that Travis Scott, very popular performer, was put on a Fortnite concert. So utilizing the images of Fortnite, I urge everyone to go check it out online. Utilizing the imagery from Fortnite, did a deal together with Fortnite where they put on a music concert with lights and with sounds, and it was a phenomenal event. People tuned in. It was a really kind of I think a watershed moment with this convergence between entertainment, influencers, esports, and I think we're going to see a lot more events like that, including one that we've done, which I'll get to in a moment. And they're going to continue to see a lot more of a convergence, not just between traditional sports, but in the entertainment worlds as well. So what's really happening on the social side? What's driving? What's behind all of this? So, we all know, just common sense that, as I said before, audiences are on the traditional side, whether it's traditional media or whether it's traditional traditional sports. We know that audiences are aging in many of the sports. So esports is really kind of turning over that audience. Most of the young people are spending more time online, whether it's hardcore audiences that are tuning in and following specific teams, or whether it's a casual fan that is just checking out once in a while and becoming just sort of more involved and more knowledgeable with what's going on the esports and video game scene. This trend is definitely shifting. And what happens with that from a media side is the way media companies have traditionally bought is significantly changing. We've done some deals recently with utilizing influencers and the power of influencers. And our research tells us that influencers are becoming and will continue to be a dominant way to reach a younger audience, whether it's a millennial audience or a Gen Z audience or Gen Z audience, I should say, as a Canadian. It's becoming a much more relevant way. So how do we get advertisers and brands comfortable with the influencer strategy? Influencers are that scene is still quite new, and brands ultimately want to feel comfortable with putting their name beside some of those influencers. So it's going to take some time. We're looking at some maturation that needs to happen, but again, we're already starting to see some of those brands test out and some dollars with some influencers. So how do we incorporate influencers, and what's our approach? So a little bit more about us. So Luminosity Gaming is our esports organization. So we have a platform of about 50 different influencers that are creating unique content, whether it's streaming a game of Fortnite that they're playing and chatting with their fans while doing that. Could be on Twitch, could be on YouTube, could be a piece of custom, more lifestyle content, but they're engaging with their audiences, gaming related content. and building relationships with their audiences. We have 7 professional esports teams, and competing in different leagues, including teams that we manage in the Overwatch League and partly own in the Overwatch League and in the Call of Duty League, but also in some smaller leagues as well. And why are we doing this? Because they're reaching a base of 60 million social media fans total, and we're using that to leverage them to bring brands closer to that audience. So we've seen some examples for us with a couple of brand deals we've done recently, where, again, as I said before, that they're looking at ways to get younger in terms of the audiences that they're able to reach, and utilizing esports organizations and utilizing our media platform, as I mentioned before, with 100 different websites, is a way to have an end-to-end approach of meeting those, of reaching those younger fans. And I want to bring you to one example that we just did a couple of weeks ago. So this is some of our influencer strategy as well. I know the time is short, so it seems like I'm rushing a little bit, and I apologize for that. We've developed an influencer strategy by bringing in entertainment folks like Tory Lanez, who's a well-known Grammy-nominated artist. Richard Sherman, for those that follow NFL, one of the greatest NFL cornerbacks of all time. He was in the Super Bowl last year and is a Super Bowl champion himself a couple of years ago. He is a Luminosity brand ambassador. And just a couple of weeks ago, we launched our first convergence event between entertainment and gaming, where we took one of our gaming influencers named Mr. Fresh Asian, who streams a lot of Fortnite content and actually won last year the Twitch Streamer of the Year award. But we found out that he also likes to DJ. And not only does he like to DJ, but he's a fantastic DJ. And we partnered him with DJ Zoo, a Grammy-nominated EDM DJ who was launching a new single. And we did an event on Twitch last month, and we had over 3 million views, total views, on a 3-hour program, #1 on Twitch for the 3-hour duration. But the point of why I'm mentioning this and why this is relevant is because we had sponsor participation. G Fuel was a sponsor on that event, the energy drink, and it was a novel approach, a novel example, something that they had never seen before, something that we had never done, and it was really extending the reach of this particular gamer's brand and reach, people that knew him for gaming, now extending him into music and entertainment. And it was something that, again, the brands really loved. We're looking at doing a few more of these events in the near future. Fantastic opportunity, again, to start converging, which I guess is really the theme of the chat here, the convergence between sports, entertainment, and gaming, because it's really providing an experience to a new audience that brands can connect with.
Hello. Oh, that was an abrupt end. That was good.
Well,
you like to keep me on my toes. I like it. It's good.
Yeah, I knew the time was running out, so I wanted to try to get through most of the prepared remarks, because I think the Q&A is really where the most value perhaps lies. So is there time for Q&A or? Yeah,
we've got Q&A. We've got a good 10 minutes. We're fine. We've got questions coming in. We've got loads. So, quickly, I was going to ask. I also want to reference that I also do a bit of DJing on the side. So if the opportunity does come available, if one of the acts drops out, just let me know. Put on some Phil Collins. That'd be great. Anyway, moving on. The kids love Phil Collins, I've been told. So. One question people always ask, and I just want to get your take on this, because we've been in the mobile games business for sort of 15 years, a long time. But we've been in this space for a long time. We've seen the industry grow into kind of a behemoth now. It's almost half the value of the global sort of games business. It's like sort of 70 billion, more than that, $70 billion or more. I don't know the latest figures are of COVID, but the global games industry is basically worth about $150, $160 billion this year. on its way to 200 billion. Those
Correct.
numbers are ridiculously huge. Esports has all the engagement of sports, and it has all of the, the great monetizing potential of games, and yet people are, we're looking at figures of $1 billion. So why do you think that is? Why? I mean, 1 billion, don't get me wrong, I'm happy with billion, but why is it not already worth 50, 60 billion, or kind of is it, but it's just not calculated that way?
So it's a good question. It's a good question. I would say the way I would answer that is, first of all, I think the measurement needs to change, and why that is because when we're measuring the esports industry, it's typically measuring sponsorships and prize money, but it's not actually measuring the sales of the games itself. Because if the sales of those esports games were in that, the numbers would be much higher.
Yeah, no, right? I did a little thing for it. I did a talk at a conference in Korea where I added in the revenues generated by games that were esports titles, whether all that money was through esports or not. Yeah, and that was
it's
like
not
15, 20 billion, whatever. It was a lot more money. I mean, it depends how broad esports goes, but yeah.
Right. So the measurement needs to change. So that's the answer to that question.
Fair enough.
And from a branding perspective, again, like I tried to make the point, and we see this all the time with large brands that typically have been in the same spending patterns for, if not years, decades, where they're very comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's hard to move those dollars.
Takes a while, doesn't it? Yeah. No, I remember, people online. Online was scary. Who's going to spend money online? That, and then the avalanche comes, and I suspect people will see. I mean, maybe this has been a catalyst. Talking of which, I've got loads of questions. I'll get through them. So it's not all about me, Chris. That's what my mum can tell me. So with the growth of esports due to COVID, will there be a surge of new technologies and companies trying to fill the gap in experience between esports and traditional sports? Is a question.
Short answer, yes.
Good.
Short answer, yes. We're already seeing companies develop in various stages. Some are commercialized already. We see examples of platforms where people can go online, even if it's just kind of casual, competitive gaming. People can compete. There could be prize money. There could be, whether or it could just be status. But we're seeing some of those platforms already. So, it would be, I guess, the analogy of, getting together with a couple of friends and going to kick around a ball in the park. Yeah. Rather than doing that, you're spending more time online and gaming with your friends. So I can certainly see, I mean, we're already seeing some of that. We're going to see more platforms where people can watch and follow from a fantasy perspective, or perhaps from a betting perspective. Yeah. We're already starting to see some of that, obviously, where the regulations will allow such a thing. But yeah, we're definitely going to see more ancillary type of services around.
And that in itself will feed back into my first point and grow the value of the industry, right? So, because a lot of the mobile is growing through the industry spending with itself, if that makes sense.
Right.
Okay. I've got a couple of questions here that are kind of trying to merge together so we can get through as many as possible. The first one is as traditional sports now need to happen without an audience, is there an opportunity to create a hybrid between esports and traditional sports? And the kind of related follow-on to that is, how important is the relationship between esports and traditional TV and sports? Does esports need to be kind of validated, or is it important to be validated by an NBA or a Premier League or an NFL or an Olympics or an ESPN? Is that not really relevant anymore? There's two things there. Is there a hybrid opportunity, and how does existing sports and sports media kind of relate?
I think this is my personal opinion, and not sure if I'm letting out a secret here or anything, but to me, I think the convergence would lie in, if traditional sports can somehow figure out a way to connect their players with their fans in real time. I think that really is something that would propel traditional sports into a whole other stratosphere. Because when you think about esports, right, and you're watching a match, you're seeing the game through the eyes of the player.
Yeah.
You're seeing what the player sees. So imagine if you were able to watch a live sporting event through the eyes of a player, and you were able to listen to the commentary that the player is giving or speaking, depending on what sport it was. You're right there live listening to the player. And for some of the slower moving games, you might even have a conversation that is happening between the player and an audience in real time.
Yeah.
In real time. And I think if professional sports can figure out a way to do that, that I think would virtually overnight bring in a whole new audience, new audience that doesn't want to passively watch something, but actively engage with what they're watching.
Yeah, that's really interesting, that active engagement. There's a few startups I know of. There's a company called Genvid who are occasional partners with us, or an interesting company in the state, and they've kind of they've built some tech which facilitate, and a lot of people are building this tech facilitates that interaction, so you can physically do stuff in the esports game and gift things or comment, and that's the thing which esports can do, which is harder for traditional sports. I mean, you wouldn't want to put a mic on a Premier League player, to be honest. Judging by what you can see from sign language and kind of make out from lip reading, I don't think they'd be happy to have that broadcast. Okay, plenty more questions. It's a quick one. Outside of sports games, and I know you're not king of esports, you don't know all the answers, but so you can feel free to say I just don't know. But outside of sports games like FIFA and Madden, etc., are there any types of games that have got more traction than others, or found new audience during the lockdown? Have been shooters or kind of, the MOBAs or anything else new that's come out?
So, well, yeah, just because there's more people online, so more people are finding ways to entertain in the game space. I mean, certainly, the leagues that have carried on, that are operating just digitally right now, the Call of Duty League, the Overwatch League, League of Legends, PUBG. I mean, those are names that those are names that are leaders in the space. They continue to see audience gains. They continue to see new sponsors come into the fold. Call of Duty and Overwatch, as an example, that for this season a few months ago signed a new broadcast deal with YouTube. So that's in anticipation of increasing audiences. So we are seeing increases, in those titles. To be perfectly honest, some of the games that you mentioned, the sports games that are also esports, like FIFA or Madden, they can tend to be sometimes smaller in their reach. More of a niche audience. Sometimes, whereas some of the other titles that especially have leagues are seeing and larger prize money also are seeing a larger reach.
Prize money is attractive. I remember doing in a talk I did somewhere else, because I'm not an expert, but I'm really interested in this space. I remember quoting to someone, or to kind of a slightly amazed audience, that the winners of a Fortnite World Cup had got more money than the winners of Wimbledon. And now people were just like, they weren't kind of idiots in the games industry. They just didn't realize it kind of gone that big. Obviously, Epic have got a lot of money and they're spending it with abandon at the moment, which is great. Anyway, I could try and squeeze in one or two more questions. We started a bit late, and it's fine. It's our show. We can go on a bit. It's fine. So, there's a question here about, are brands like Adidas, very specific, investing real money, or are they just bringing clothing lines to the players? I don't know how much you know about. Okay, you do know. You've got esports teams there.
So, I can't comment specifically on that one, but what I can comment is just in our experience with some of the brand deals that we've had, and maybe I'll comment on Adidas also, but just in our experience, because of the three pillars of the business that we run on the media side, on the event side, and entertainment side, and the esports side, what we're seeing is we're able to provide a platform to brands where they can reach a gaming audience in multiple ways. whether, again, through an influencer, whether it's a name on a jersey, whether it's through custom content, or whether it's just, you know, traditional banner ads on a media website. There are dollars there. There's also product there. Just, you know, one example with the G Fuel energy drink sponsorship that we've signed in the past month. There's media dollars. There is merchandise. There's product, coupon codes. So it's all encompassing. My guess with Adidas, without knowing that deal specifically, is it's probably mostly product, but product does come at a cost. There could be other you know, media components there, but my guess is it would be mostly product in that specific example.
Cool. I'll give you a final question here. I must admit, whenever someone mentions energy drink, I kind of almost expect them to hold it up in the background. It's like, that's obviously not part of the contract that you drink it at all times. But
no, I don't have enough of an influencer reach that they want me holding product.
Oh, Tish, don't do yourself down. What about the final question? Is obviously we're not exclusively, but we're primarily a mobile media channel. We have a lot of non-mobile people at the show and topics. Esports is very broad, but in the mobile versus kind of PC console sort of esports format debate, where do you stand there? Like Tencent were in this morning, relatively big company, and they gave a talk about the PUBG experience and esports tournaments in Southeast Asia and China, and mobile esports in Asia is huge, but mobile esports in the West is not nothing, but it's not quite on the same level. You've got Summoners War have events. You've got Clash Royale, Clash Clans for Supercell, but it's not reached the same levels yet. Do you think that will change, or is that just because the sort of people that do esports are kind of entrenched in the PC and console sort of gaming world?
I think it will change. I think we're going to continue to see more mobile game releases. We're going to see more mobile game activity. Certainly, as technology continues to improve, we'll see that. But what I would say is, and from our perspective, what I can see happening the most is audiences of other mobile games that either are played in a mobile console or played on a traditional PC. It's the audiences that are consuming that content that will shift to be more and more mobile. Right. Think of just in the traditional sports example again. Whereas 5 or 6 years ago, you couldn't watch a live sporting match on a mobile device, and the technology now over the last few years has allowed that. So think of the added reach now from an audience perspective that broadcast now has. That's where I think we're going to see more of the gains, where you could just pick up watching a match when you're on the go, as opposed to being at home on your PC. So that's where we see more of the gains coming from. But that being said, I mean, we're still going to see more games being played, esports games being played on mobile devices, of course.
Okay, I'm going to squeeze in a super quick answer to a super quick question. We're going to have to send you on your merry way. And the question that came from Ardwin Winter. I don't know if you have any answer to this. Maybe it's because you're from Canada. They thought you knew about this. But what do you think of esports in France at the moment? And it says in terms of the recruitment process. I don't know anything about the French esports scene, particularly all recruitment. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to comment or say anything there. I appreciate the question, but yeah, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to comment anything specifically.
North America, Canada. That's the focus, right? We'll get to France. Don't worry, we'll expand. Okay, thank you so much, Eric. That was brilliant, really insightful. Thank you for your sharing your data and for answering questions openly.